Sometimes it seems our planet hides far more than we can imagine. There are places where nature transcends the ordinary, where landscapes appear to have been created not by the earth, but by a boundless imagination, where icy peaks reach for the sky and beneath them stretch forests that breathe the history of thousands of years, where oceans conceal entire worlds and each wave carries within it a life we are only beginning to understand. These places don't just impress, they transform us. Each journey reveals more than new horizons. It teaches us to see, to feel, and to value what once seemed commonplace. Because when you stand before the grandeur of nature, you understand how fragile this world is and how much it needs our attention. This is not just a video, it's a journey through 8 unique places where the earth reveals its most astonishing faces. From the depths of the ocean to heights where the air becomes almost weightless. If you're passionate about discovering the wonders of nature and the hidden gems of the world, subscribe to the channel and join us on this incredible journey. Number 8. Iguazu. After the calm of the mountains, the world changes abruptly, as if someone had flipped a switch. Instead of wind and stone, heat, humidity, and dense greenery. The air grows heavier, the sounds more intense, and the space itself seems to fill with movement. Somewhere along the way, a noise appears, at first distant, almost imperceptible, then growing louder, deeper, denser, almost uninterrupted. That is Iguazu, a system of waterfalls on the border between Argentina and Brazil, one of the largest in the world. Here, there isn't just one waterfall, there are hundreds, and each one has its own rhythm and its own force. The water falls from different heights with varying intensity, creating a complex network of currents. The most striking point is the Devil's Gorge, an enormous horseshoe-shaped crevice into which the torrents of water converge. When you are close to it, everything else disappears. Only the water remains. The sound becomes almost physical. You don't just hear it, you feel it in your body. Clouds of spray hang suspended in the air, and light passes through them, appearing in rainbows. Everything around seems unreal, like a scene that never stops changing. The jungle here isn't just a backdrop, it lives alongside the water. The walkways take you directly over the current. Step by step, you get closer, and the boundary between observer and environment disappears. Iguazu is not a place to contemplate from afar. It is a place to immerse yourself in. Number 7. Everest. There are places on the planet that have become larger than geography itself. They have become a symbol, a dream, a challenge. Everest is one of them. The highest point on Earth, a summit that rises almost 9 kilometers above sea level, a place where the air ends and the limits of human possibility begin. For the Nepalese, she has another name, Sagarmatha. For the Tibetans, Chomolungma, the mother goddess of the world. And in those names, there is more truth than in any number. Everest is not just a mountain. It is a world entire. Its glaciers, its walls, and its ridges are the result of millions of years of movement of the Earth's crust. And even today, this mountain continues to grow, slowly, almost imperceptibly but relentlessly. Here, the temperature can drop below -60 degrees Celsius. Here, the wind blows with hurricane force. In the death zone above 8,000 meters, the human body begins to break down. There is not enough oxygen for normal life. And yet, people from all over the world return here again and again. Not for records, not just for glory, but for the answer to a simple question: where is the limit of what is possible? It wasn't until 1953 that Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay managed to reach its summit for the first time. Since then, thousands have repeated that journey, but the mountain has not gotten any easier. Whoever looks at Everest from below doesn't just see rock and ice. They see a dream, and the price of that dream. Number 6. The Great Barrier Reef. There are places that can't be fully seen from the surface. To understand them, you have to dive in. The Great Barrier Reef isn't just a place. It's an entire underwater world that exists and lives according to its own rules. It stretches for thousands of kilometers along the coast of Australia, and from above it appears almost unreal, a complex system of shapes, colors, and movement. But the true experience begins underwater. Here, everything changes. The light softens, sounds disappear, and space is perceived differently. Corals form entire cities, living structures that grow, change, and interact with one another. Among them move thousands of species of fish, turtles, rays, and predators almost imperceptibly. The Great Barrier Reef is so vast it can even be seen from space. It is the largest living structure on the planet, an ecosystem where every element has its role and where balance is maintained through constant movement. Sometimes it seems not to be part of the ocean, but a separate world with its own logic, rhythm, and colors that are difficult to reproduce on land. But behind this beauty lies fragility. The reef is changing. Water temperature, climate, and human influence are gradually affecting it. And that is why every dive here isn't just an experience. It is an opportunity to see something unique that may look very different in a very short time. The Great Barrier Reef is the point where Australia's scale extends beyond the land and becomes something even deeper than it appears at first glance. Number 5. Uluru. Uluru appears suddenly and immediately changes the perception of space. In the heart of Australia, everything feels different, without ocean, without cities, without familiar landmarks. Only earth, sky, and rock. And that rock is not just a shape. Uluru rises above the plain like an almost perfect mass. It seems monolithic, but it changes with every minute. The light here works differently. In the morning, it is cold and contained. During the day, intense and almost blinding. And at sunset, it turns a deep red, as if radiating heat from within. But its power lies not only in its appearance. Uluru holds profound meaning for the indigenous peoples. For the Anangu, this is not just a natural object. It is part of their culture, their history, and their spiritual world. Every crevice, every shape has its significance, and that invisible depth is felt even without explanation. The surrounding red center seems almost empty, but that emptiness is not absence. It is filled with boundless space and a silence that does not weigh, but rather cleanses. Here there are no distractions, only scale, light, and a sense of presence. Uluru is a place where you arrive thinking you have come to see a rock, and you leave understanding that you have stood before something that has existed long before any name was given to it, and that will continue to exist long after. This is not a place to be explained. It must be felt, and that feeling does not leave easily. It stays with you, quiet and steady, like the rock itself beneath the desert sky. Number 4. Mount Fuji. There's one place that needs no explanation. It is instantly recognizable, even if you see it for the very first time. Mount Fuji is more than a mountain. It's an image, a symbol that has become part of Japan, and at the same time a place that exists beyond the cities, beyond the rush, beyond anything ordinary. The area surrounding the mountain feels different. Here the space is more open, the air cleaner, and the pace much slower. Fuji isn't always visible. Clouds can cover the summit, leaving only a silhouette barely visible. But that is precisely what makes the moment of encounter so special. When the sky clears, the mountain appears in its entirety, sharp, symmetrical, almost perfect, and that image is difficult to compare to any other. Around it lie lakes Kawaguchi and Yamanaka, whose still waters reflect the summit and create another level of perception. Sometimes it seems as if the mountain exists simultaneously in two worlds, the real one and the reflected one. In summer, green slopes. In autumn, vibrant colors. In winter, snow and clear skies. And each time, Fuji looks different yet remains the same. It is worth remembering that Mount Fuji is an active volcano. Its last eruption in 1707, and a UNESCO World Heritage Site recognized as a cultural treasure sacred to the Japanese for centuries. Fuji doesn't try to impress all at once. It works through form, through silence, through scale. And that is why this place remains not as a photograph, but as a feeling of space that is hard to forget. Number 3. Zhangjiajie. The Zhangjiajie scenic area feels like a place where space itself decided to change its own logic. Instead of flat plains, there is verticality. Instead of lines, columns. Thousands of stone pillars rise upward, narrow, tall, almost unreal in their form. They are not side by side, but separated by depth and mist. And it is precisely the mist that creates the main sensation. It obscures part of the landscape, dissolves the contours, and makes the space more layered. The pillars seem to emerge from nowhere and just as suddenly vanish. Light filters through this veil gently, highlighting the forms without harshness, making the entire landscape seem alive. Zhangjiajie is often associated with fantastical worlds, and that feeling arises naturally. But nothing here is artificial. Everything has been sculpted by time, by water, by wind. Millions of years of gradual change have created this landscape. And that is precisely why it seems so precise, so inevitable. Pathways wind through the space between the pillars, above the gorges. Viewpoints open up different levels of scenery, each one unique. The perspective shifts, the light changes, and the landscape is seen in a new light. There is no single image here. There is constant change. Zhangjiajie is a place that cannot be grasped all at once. It must be seen in motion, in its transformation, in its details. It is precisely here that China reveals itself not through architecture or symbols, but through a landscape that transcends the ordinary. And that feeling lingers, returning again and again to the memory, as if this place never lets go of you, even long after you have left. Number 2. Huangshan. Huangshan is a landscape that seems to have existed even before the very idea of beauty. These mountains don't just rise. They form a silhouette that is instantly recognizable even without context. Sharp peaks, rocks that seem suspended in midair, and pines growing where there appears to be no place for them. They cling to the stone, take root, and become part of the very form of the landscape. Here, the mist doesn't conceal. It creates, slipping between the summits, enveloping them, and transforming the space into something multi-layered and alive. At times, it seems as if the mountains aren't resting on the earth, but floating above it. The light adds another layer, appearing suddenly, illuminating specific peaks and changing the composition every minute. The trails wind through glacial valleys alongside narrow cliffs with steep slopes. And here, movement slows not because of the difficulty, but because of the desire to stop, to look, and to hold the moment. Huangshan is not just a mountain range, it is an image. It was precisely these forms that inspired Chinese painters for centuries. It was here that those landscapes were born, later transferred to paper with ink and silence. And looking at these mountains, one understands why. They don't seem accidental. They seem like an idea, a vision of what nature can become when given enough time and imagination. This contrast between reality and something almost beyond reality makes Huangshan a place not only seen, but felt on a deeper level. It changes the rhythm of perception and forces you to notice what daily life usually erases. Number 1. Victoria Falls. There are places where nature speaks without metaphor. Victoria Falls is one of them. On the border between Zambia and Zimbabwe, the Zambezi River reaches the edge of a basalt plateau and simply falls. The result is one of the largest waterfalls in the world, nearly 2 kilometers wide and over 100 meters tall, a curtain of water so vast that the spray rises high enough to be seen from 30 kilometers away. The locals have always known this place by a different name, Mosi Oa Tunya, the smoke that thunders, and standing before it, you understand immediately why. The sound is not a sound in the ordinary sense. It is a presence, a vibration that fills the air, the ground, and everything in between. The mist drifts across the gorge in constant motion, catching the light and scattering it into rainbows that appear and dissolve and appear again. On the Zimbabwean side, walkways bring you directly to the edge. The force of the water is visible in every detail, the power of the current, the depth of the gorge below, the sheer scale of the collapse. On the Zambian side, in dry season, it is possible to swim in the Devil's Pool, a natural rock basin at the very lip of the falls, with the abyss just beyond. Victoria Falls does not try to be beautiful, it simply is. And in that simplicity, in that unrestrained, continuous, ancient roar, it becomes something beyond landscape. It becomes an experience the body remembers long after the mind has moved on.